How big does your email list really have to be before you can think about doing a webinar? That's the question I'm going to be answering today. Hi, I'm Jackie Johnstone of JackieJohnstone.com, and I help you figure out all of that social and digital marketing strategy so that you can reach more people you can help. And today's question comes from Devin. It's a fantastic question. We were on the phone together last week, and she asked me, how do I know when I'm ready to do a webinar? You know, how big does my email list need to be before I can think about doing one? And I love this question because webinars have been absolutely huge in my business for starting to get momentum and traction. I was able to double my email list within 3 months by just doing one webinar a month, so 3 webinars. I had my first client waiting list and filled my group program because of webinars, and I really started to establish my expertise to the point where people, now reach out to ask me to teach webinars to their community, to teach in their group programs, like in their classes, because I, stepped up and started to share stuff frequently through webinars. So I love them, and that's why I love this question, because it's, you're looking forward, you're trying to think the next thing, how to get that traction in your business. So let me tell you a little secret. If you're asking this question, you're probably ready. Seriously, maybe that's not what you wanted me to say, but if you're thinking about doing one, you're probably ready to go ahead and do it. There is no magic number on your email list. There are really only 3 simple things that you kind of need to have in place in order to, I think, do a successful webinar and make it, worth the time that you put in. And those 3 things are, number 1, have a website up. So there's somewhere for people to find you, to find out about you, to register for your webinar. Number 2, have an email list set up so that you can actually capture those leads and talk to them after the webinar through your email service provider. And number 3, have a couple of ideas. So have some topics that you want to share with your audience. So really that just comes down to knowing, your people, what they're struggling with, and how you can help them. So you've been in business or in your industry long enough that you do have some ideas. You don't have to have some award-winning trademark system or have spoken on stage or whatever to have expertise to share, but just that you have some idea of how you can help people. So that's it. Those 3 simple things, website and email list and some idea of what you want to teach. Just to give you some background, when I ran my very first webinar, which was Facebook from scratch in the fall, I think like October 2013, I had 120 people on my email list. So yeah, it wasn't big, but I had 75 people sign up for the webinar. And you know what? Most of those people were not on my email list. So it was a great list builder for me even then. And it was also really great experience, to do it. And it sometimes is actually easier to do and to get that experience when you do have less people looking at you, because you're not worried about making a mistake. Plus, be totally honest with your audience. This is my first webinar. Thank you so much for being here. Ask for feedback after. There's really, size shouldn't be stopping you. But I have a feeling that you're asking this question and you're hesitating on doing your webinar because you're a little bit scared. So you were hoping that I might say you need 1,000 people or some other specific standard before you could be ready to do a webinar, because then you could stop worrying about it and stop being afraid of doing it. Am I right? But we were all scared before we did our first webinar, and let me just tell you, it gets easier. Okay, there's a lot of work that goes into the very first webinar, logistical with software and tech and figuring that out, and how to put together a good presentation and how to promote it and make sure people show up, how to give people lots of value. And those are all things that I help my clients with in my new offer, Get Your Webinar Done. But once you've got all that stuff figured out one time, you have a reusable system and you have something to build on the next time around. So stop waiting. If you're asking yourself, am I ready to do a webinar? You are, and I'd love to see you do it. If you have any questions about webinars, I'm going to be talking about them for the next month on the blog, because it really has been huge in my business, and I want to share that with all of you. So feel free to leave some questions in the comments on this blog, or send me an email at jackie@jackiejohnstone.com so I can answer them in an upcoming video or blog post. And of course, if you want to stay in the loop and not miss any of the webinar wisdom that I'm going to be sharing over the next couple of weeks, come on over to jackiejohnstone.com and sign up for the newsletter list so you will be the first to hear. Thank you so much.